Hi everybody, Giselle Grenier here from artplace.ca. In this video lesson, I'm going to show you how you can take a technique I'm going to show you for upcycling art, or just basically to cover something up that you don't like. This is my newspaper journal that I made, and everything's pretty well gessoed. Leftover paint from other projects, I just put it on here and tried some techniques on here. And what I did is when I was creating a particular design, I had used modeling paste. It's modeling paste or texture paste? Modeling paste. And I was cleaning the stencil. So as I was cleaning the stencil, I cleaned it on this, and I cleaned it on that, and I cleaned it on that. I cleaned it on here, and I cleaned some on here. And I also did the front cover, which is what stands out the most. And journal is pretty well ready, other than a couple of pages in the back which could use a little bit more gesso. I'm going to work on this. I'm going to show you how to upcycle this. And I'm going to be using Americana Decor Chalky Finish paint. The colors I have out, actually I lied, I'm going to be using two. The colors I have out are Everlasting, Promise, and Nostalgia. Now, is that Nostalgia or Remembrance? They have it in 3 languages. Sometimes the translations actually work out, are really nice. Either Remembrance or Nostalgia. Either one sounds really good. And this is Everlasting. Put those aside. And I'm going to be using the DecoArt Media Fluid Acrylics, Quinacridone Burnt Orange, and Quinacridone Gold. Now the purples and pinks are not colors I typically work with, so this is going to be a bit of a challenge for me. What I'm looking at doing is preparing this for further art to be built upon it, because it's a book cover. I like to design the book covers at the very end when the journal is full. But I like to prep it, because when I look at this, although I love the stencil, I don't like the look of this. So first thing I'm going to do is Chaos knocked all my brushes into my brush bucket, so now they're all soaking wet. Nice kitty. Oh, paper towel. I'm going to cover this. I don't need to cover this with gesso because it's got multiple layers of acrylics on there already. So I'm going to apply a coat of Everlasting because I want that chalk finish on it. And this particular paint, it's better to do thin, even layers and not a thick application, which is the same for really any paint product. Because there's nothing in the journal, I don't care if it goes over the edges. All the pages are showing through. Don't care. Like that look. And other than the water in my brush, I'm not diluting this at all. And I want to make sure with this that it dries in between. And this paint actually sticks to, I think, almost any surface. But it's that chalky finish that I absolutely love. Now, not a downfall, okay, but what's missing, and if I was, if I really wanted to work at it, I could. I like having pigment numbers written on the actual bottles or tubes or containers of the paint. That way I know what's in them. These don't. And they're not meant to be used for what I'm using it for, but I just love using these paints for creating artwork. Love the look. And this particular journal will probably be a vintage distressed, because I love that look. Vintage industrial vintage. Maybe industrial vintage modern? Is there such a thing? So that nice texture in there. And when this dries, you'll still be able to see the clock face in there. That's good. Now, if you're not sure, if you did a stencil, like I use, this is textured. If you're not sure, you can always take a baby wipe and then squeeze out the excess liquid in it, and you could further further distress it. This paint is really good for distressing. I'm going to turn it around. I want the numbers to show and I want the texture to show. Now that I'm doing this, I'm glad I did, because I think it would have been too covered up the other way. What else have I got? Oh, I've got little bits and bobs here. Is this clean? I don't know. I took a bit too much off, so I can just push back down to blend that out and come back. There's little itty bitty numbers here. This is turning out really nice. This is turning out a little bit better than I expected. But still got too much paint here. Just took off a little bit too much paint. And I'm being really quiet because I'm concentrating. Now I'm going to let it sit and dry. It won't take very long, maybe about 15 minutes. I could hit it with the heat gun, but because there's so much texture on here, I'm not going to bother doing that. I'm going to let it naturally air dry. Put my brush of water, and then in the next step, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with the light pink, build up with the purple, then glaze with the transparent paint. Now, if you want to recreate this, let's say you don't have anything to upcycle, you have art to upcycle, but you like to create this look, what you'll need is you've got your painting, your paper, whatever you have that you're going to be painting on. If you can put acrylics to it, you can do it. And gesso on it, any stencil. Okay, but I'll list this particular stencil in the supply list. Take your stencil, apply modeling paste, texture paste, fiber paste, some type of thick paste to it. The one that I used was this one here, a modeling paste, and you put it on with a palette knife. It's like plaster. Put it on with the palette knife. It's flexible, which is really good for especially in art journaling. And put the stencil on, feed it through, take it off, and that's it, and then wash your stencil. And then from there, you can go on and repeat this process. All right. So I will leave it at that. So I will come back in a bit and we'll move on to the next step. Dry beautifully. I also did the other side of the cover as well. I'm working on this side. Actually, you know what? I'll do both. All right, so I'm going to start with the bristle brush, and we'll see. We're going to apply this color, Promise, everywhere. And the bristle brush is slightly damp because this has a lot of white in it. I wanted to allow some of that grunge to show through. If you want a more opaque finish, you can also use a little towel to apply the paint, or just apply it thicker. If you're replicating this and you've freshly stenciled this, then don't apply too much paint or you'll lose the dimensions. And I'm just going to come with a dry cloth. And these little baby numbers here. Yeah, baby numbers I don't think are going to show. By using this paint fairly dry and the brush really only having a little bit of water on it, that it makes the numbers stand out quite easily. Now if you didn't want to use a bristle brush, you can use a kitchen towel and just rub the paint in. If you want to use a baby wipe, make sure you squeeze the excess out of the baby wipe. The one drawback about using this right now is that you're not really going to get inside all the crevices unless you get your fingernail inside the cloth to do the work. This is why the brush is a little bit better. Well, okay. Let's make use of this now. I got it in the paint. That actually doesn't look too bad. I'm going to finish with the white first. And I did put a lot on there because I'm going to also use that on the other side. Now I don't want a gaping like a silhouette around where the elements, you can tell that they've been rubbed out. So I'm just going to apply a little bit of color, especially on the spine. And we'll just overlap a few pieces here. Now I'm going to turn this around. I'll do the same thing. Now with a baby wipe, I'll show you that. This is the baby wipe straight out of the container. And see what happens? There's almost nothing because the baby wipe is so wet. Get an absorbent paper towel. And then when you squeeze out the baby wipe, the paper towel, this is actually really, really wet. The paper towel then can be used instead. There we go. Use that, or you can even dry this a little bit. Come back, that's better. You can use a foam brush, it's up to you. I want to make sure that a lot of the stuff here is transparent. I want the stuff to show through. Okay, but the good old bristle brush gets right inside the crevices. But it's up to you. It's up to you how, it's your art. Do what feels right to you. I'm going to be asking my people in my Facebook group. I've been contemplating a question. What's the silliest art supply you've ever seen? You've gone to the store or watched a YouTube video or saw something online, whatever, and you think to yourself, that is so silly. I would love to hear what you think. By the time you watch this video, the comments maybe the comment will already be in the Facebook group, so the question, so I'll be curious what you think. There we are. All right, that's dry, so I'm going to come in now with the purple. And the purple, I will need I shall just use the clean dry cloth ready. And I want it grungy, very dry brush, but I want to make sure there aren't any thick pockets of paint, because we're going to be coming back over with the transparent acrylics. I say that and I'm looking at this and I'm saying I really, really like this just the way it is, but get out of my way. This you don't put everywhere. I do not want to frame it. So I'm going to focus on the edges. That's why I love this number 8, they're so bright. Absolutely phenomenal. Frame the whole thing, but make sure it still remains grungy. This dries very, very quickly because I'm putting it on so thin. Now I'll come in. That's pretty good. Okay, what shape do we see? I see a kitty cat holding a stick. Tail, back leg, another leg, body, head, ear, nose, front leg, back leg, and there's the stick. What is that? A frog. The frog, the back is facing you. There's his bum, his legs, and then there's his head. I think I need to take a break. And while that's drying, I'll quickly do this part. And if you're going to use your brush to do your distressing like this, don't use your really, really, really good expensive brushes. I've got these beautiful, beautiful brushes, Sable Tex, and these really nice brushes, and I just use those for my professional art. Doing all this journaling and mixed media, that just keeps me sane. Lets me have fun. I get to experiment. I do a lot of experimenting in my journals before committing to a piece of canvas, because canvas isn't cheap. Because you have to, I use the really, 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 really good stuff, and it's not cheap. Can I get a baby wipe? Maybe I can use this one here. I'm just going to wipe back a little bit of this, flipping over. And what this is doing, the top layer is sort of coming off, and it's allowing the previous layer, which is a light pink with the brush strokes, to show through. Real grunge look. I love how grungy this is. This is the same technique, I think. No, not even close. So you got to make sure that this is dry before you do the next step. And if you take too much off, just put it back. Okay. This one here, I want to allow it. I want to allow further building on this, so I don't want to to have it completely finished. Same thing with this one. I really like what it looks like now though. Ooh, okay, I gotta get rid of that kitty cat. Okay, this brush in the water. This needs to be completely dry. You cannot have any opaque paint coming up when we do this next step, the glazing step. If you want to be 100% sure, so if we put the paint on right now and then we don't like it, to wipe it back, it's going to be difficult because this is a chalky paint. It's matte, so it'll hold more of whatever goes on top. If you're not sure, apply a layer of matte medium over everything, which will create a barrier layer. Once that's dry, then you can come in with your transparent paints. If you don't like it, it'll wipe off really, really easy. And I'm going first with quinacridone gold, which is orange, and then quinacridone burnt orange, which is a red. They're similar in color. Need some water on that. I'm gonna load the orange first, and I'll practice, well, not so much practice, but I'll try on here. And you're applying it like a stain. Oh, gorgeous. Oh. Get rid of that line. Not covering everything. Like my fancy painting tool method. You can tell I'm not left-handed. Okay, a little bit of water. I'll continue this piece right over. Making sure that there aren't any hard lines. I have one here. A little bit of moisture, and it gets rid of it. Oh, whatever you do, don't push your brush in this way. Holy smokes. Always push it away. That way you don't damage the bristles. If you had a kitty cat, your bristles might be damaged already. Mia likes, she's infatuated with the Sabletech brushes. Chaos likes the Bristle Bright. But I will have to say, Mia's the one that destroyed my Bristle Bright brush. The one I've been using for years and years and years. And it was actually down to that high, and it was absolutely perfect. And my moon pie destroyed it. It was just after we adopted her. Now she doesn't care. I can still take the same brush, don't have to clean it, and go into the quinacridone burnt orange, and now that's going to go over everything else. And this I'm going to pad. When you see all this amount of bubbles, there's too much water. And I'm not going to rub because I may take up some of the paint. And what I want that almost like a watercolor effect, like this. That's what I want. This type of thing here. When you're actually creating watercolors, you try to avoid that. But when you're painting, when I want that effect, I'm just going to tip that. Oh, it's like watching paint dry. I'll let that dry for a little bit. I'm going to get a different cloth. You can apply this any way you want. Come on. And I'm watching Chaos out of the corner of my eye. She's on top of my bookcase. Because it's 42 outside, 42 Celsius outside. And she's on top of my bookcase, with a quarter of her body hanging off and she's sleeping. I'm just waiting for her to roll over and she's going to go thunk on the floor. Now the quinacridone burnt orange is more of a red, so that's why it's working really well with this. If you think of color theory, orange and purple, which is what's on here first, it would create a very neutral and dull mix because they're opposites they're across from each other on the color wheel. Because it's a red, it's fine. Okay, I'm going to put that in water. I'm going to go straight to my little cloth here. And I'm going to wipe that on. See what happens when you put it on? It's a lot thicker. To go over the letters, clock face, just grabbing whatever's left on here. Yeah, I can wipe that back. If you want, you can even get your fingers in there. Darken up the edges. Like I said, you can do this. I like to say till the cows come home. You just do this as much as you want. Just layer and layer and layer. And if I want, by the time I'm finished this will be dry, then I can go back and apply another layer if I wanted to. I'm not going to though, because I'm liking how deep this is right now. So if you've ever done staining, this is similar. What you do, put it on, and if you've got too much, take it up. This goes pretty far. I do not want any of that white showing. Now I'll go back to the quinacridone gold. And I'm just going to just brush over the edge just to give it that rough look. Not into purple. Like that. Just brushing over the whatever's stenciled through will just grab the paint. Get a fresh baby wipe. Actually, a Q-tip with water would work well for this particular technique. I don't think I have any. Nope. I'm not going to worry too much about this because I already know what I want to do there. I'm going to be using some metallics when it comes time to actually working on this cover. Here we go. So this is a really, I mean, and you can make it as complicated as you want, but this is a really easy way to upcycle your existing art. It just takes a little bit of imagination. And don't forget to go to my Facebook, our private group, and answer the question, what's the silliest art supply you've ever seen, you've come across, whether it's in a store, on a YouTube channel, that you've bought. Curious to what people have seen. I've seen some doozies. There we are. Voila! I finished. There we go. So I will, when this is dry, put a layer of varnish on this, the ultra matte varnish, or maybe no, I'm going to use the actual American Decor, the soft varnish, because I don't want this to be totally matte. And just to protect this, because this is stenciled modeling paste, I just want to protect it until it comes to the time where I actually decorate or embellish the cover. So that's the book. I'm loving that color. And what I may do is, as time goes on, if I see this again, I may want to deepen the colors a little bit more. But I wanted to try working with the pinks and purples, the really, really soft colors, because these are outside my comfort zone. But I wanted to take those colors and create them into something that's a little bit more industrial and a little bit more grungy. I think, what's the term? I think you guys, this probably won't fall into that, but shabby chic? I don't know. I'm not up on the terms and all that stuff. I just create what I like and like what I see. So there you go. I would love to see your take on this, what your version is, your rendition, your interpretation, following either some of the directions, some of what I did, nothing that I did, all of what I did, whatever. I would love to see your version, so please feel free to email me a picture or join our private Facebook group, which is free, and post a picture in there, and we like to bounce ideas off each other, tips and tricks and all that stuff. All right, so, and the contact information and link for the private Facebook group is on my website at artplace.ca. So off to clean, and might do another video depending on, hot. So I might do another video, but until then, stay inspired.